We've got three great presenters with us, one from Australia, one from Asia, and one from Portugal. So even though we're stuck in our homes and we can't travel, we're going to travel virtually. So we have Ross Campbell from Singapore. He's the founder of F.I.T Summit and spent his early career in events and media before starting his own MMA and HIIT gym, which is called the Jungle. And Ross is over to my far side over here. And then Jose, I'm not going to do this. Do your last name yourself, Jose.
Teixeira.
Teixeira. Okay, Teixeira. I'm not doing. From Portugal. He began as a sales consultant, club manager, area manager, operations director, and now is head of customer experience for SC Fitness, overseeing the fitness project, innovation, and data. And then we have my dear friend Kristen Green from Sydney, Australia. She's the executive general manager of the multi-award-winning Aquafit, a large multi-purpose fitness and aquatic center located in Sydney. So we're really excited because these are the leaders in the industry from different places in the world. And what's important for us to learn from these people is they are about 4 weeks, little over a month ahead of America. So they've opened, they've experienced increased COVID, unfortunately. They've had to shut down a little bit, and then they've had to reopen, and they've seen and experienced a lot, and we're hoping they can share this with us. So we need some light shed on this. And Jose, I think you were the first one that started chatting when we were just talking about a half an hour ago. And what is going on in Portugal?
So we had a first outbreak in March. Most of our infections were in April. Our clubs closed in March. We closed before the government closed all businesses. And we started to put some pressure on the government, acting responsibly. And we opened in June. So we had like 2.5 months of virtual classes, of online classes, speaking with the members, and just trying to recover the pieces of our business during the period. Nowadays,
When you did that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you guys did that, I realize you're obviously a leader in the industry in Portugal. Did you see most of your larger facilities doing that, as well as boutique studios really going into the virtual and the online to sustain their memberships?
Well, most of the clubs did that. We are really proud of the industry because we proved that everyone was helping members, even if they froze the memberships. We still had players doing free classes and helping members to work out at their home. Obviously, everyone was freezing the memberships because we couldn't give the service, but we did really okay. Almost everyone did the virtual. Obviously, the big operators did a huge investment that everyone has stored in the drawer about digital. Everyone is talking about digital for 2, 3, 4 years. No one did anything. We did our omni-channel project in 2 weeks. We launched an online gym. We launched later an outdoor gym. We launched an application. We launched another website. So I believe that almost everyone gave a good example. In Portugal, clubs did well. I believe all across the world, the clubs went virtual and digital. The problem is we don't know how to make money on the digital. So we only know how to engage members. That's a huge future learning on the business. I don't know anyone that is in the physical gym business that makes a lot of money virtual. So let's see what happens.
But it seems like it's a cost of doing business at this point. You've got to engage your members, or at least that's the perspective that's carrying.
Well, we launched our online gym. We are not closing it. So yes, we have less people working out virtual right now because we opened the clubs. But we are going to have a hybrid model in the future. So we are going to give digital memberships to our members, or upgrade our price offering digital classes. Almost every digital offering is about group fitness. Our main turnover was with personal training, because we had small revenue on group fitness classes, but on personal training, we recovered 40% of our revenue in digital personal training. So I would believe that if I were an operator right now with my club closed, I would develop the tools to get the personal training, the nutrition consultations via, I don't know, choose, everyone is like an expert in digital platforms. We use Whereby because you can use Zoom, you can use whatever you want, but to maintain revenue of personal training, it's really possible to do that virtually. So I would advise to keep, and this is going to be a problem in the future, because baby boomers will not come to we are open for 45 days. We had a huge freeze on baby boomers because they are afraid of coming out. So this kind of members should go on virtual, and it's difficult because they are not keen on technology, but we managed to get some of them doing personal training virtually.
That's what I was just about to ask you. I thought, if we can take some of our group fitness people and do them virtually through the personal training, you can get the ancillary revenue, maintain their membership, even though they can't do that. Is there any advice you would give these people, everybody on the call right now, as to ways in which you were successful in possibly getting these people to transition to the personal training and on the platform?
We acted really quick because we closed in one day. The next day, every personal trainer was asking their member to engage in digital offering. So we need to convince first our staff. This is about our staff. Obviously, we had some guys doing 90% of the revenue they had, and some other guys doing 10%. But then this is, and the first 2 weeks we got less because people said, no, this is a 2-week problem, this is a small problem. And now we know, we knew at the beginning this was going to be a long problem, and it still is a long problem. So people started to get annoyed at their home, not doing exercise, and they started moving the personal training again. So we went until 40% of our total revenue in personal training on digital. So we did it well. And if you want to charge group fitness classes, you have 1 million applications better than you on the market, on the App Store or Google Play Store, that are really better than you. Obviously, you got the engagement and instructors, but if you want to make real money, you have to go on the personal training, nutrition, or to give some other kind of non-dues revenue.
Yeah, interesting. And Ross, it's kind of like the same question. What's going on in Asia, and where do you think there's going to be the digital platforms, and how are personal trainers acting? And is the response from the public as good as Jose is seeing in Portugal?
Yeah, thanks, Sara, and a very good afternoon to everyone joining us today. In terms of Asia, of course, was hit hardest and hit first with the crisis. In Singapore, we were the second country to get hit with the virus. The positive thing about Asia was the entire region closed its borders almost immediately to travel. especially from other Asian countries. And so although our rates went up quite fast initially, most of the countries managed to successfully contain the virus to smaller numbers than we're now seeing in North America and certainly in Europe. All areas in Asia are open with the exception of the Philippines and the exception of India. Both of those countries are still closed for business, for gyms, and hopefully they're going to reopen within the next 4 weeks. Across Asia, we've saw a variety of different policies and protocols by government in terms of what they are allowed to open and under what restrictions. The only closure or reclosure that we've actually saw in Asia has actually come in Hong Kong. And that's happened in the past 1 week. And that's now its third wave, Hong Kong. And as a result of only 40 cases a day, of which half of which were uncontacted or untraceable, they've actually now reshut gyms again on a 1 week rolling basis alongside schools. So this is
Ross,
Hong Kong's third wave.
I'm just going to say, in Hong Kong, they're getting 40 cases a day? 40
cases a day. And that was enough for the government to stop shops, bars, restaurants, to limit groups down to sizes of 4, and to close all public spaces for 1 week.
Oh my gosh, to put this in perspective, there were 14,000 cases in Florida over the weekend. In one day, I think it was on Saturday. Unbelievable. And they're still running around the beaches not wearing masks. So please go ahead. So it seems like Asia took this extremely seriously.
It did take it extremely seriously. I mean, we have had the SARS and the MERS viruses before, so we are traditionally prepared for pandemics such as this, or endemics, depending upon the classification. And so the community, the public, the business world, and especially the governments are very scared of what this can do quite quickly. So credit to the governments in terms of how they've stepped up. The challenges we've had in Asia is that, of course, there have been similar restrictions placed upon us like any other country. We saw standard hygiene practices and cleaning practices improve. The big variations we saw are across 5 lines. One of those is safe distancing. The safe distancing in some countries ranges between 1 meter and 3 meters. The maximum capacity allowed into any facility also varies. So across Asia, we've seen it vary between 1 person per 5 square meters of gross square floor use, up to 1 person every 16 meters, which makes it incredibly difficult to operate. Group fitness classes have been limited almost across the board to 50% of capacity across most countries. Some have been raising that to 60 and 70% of capacity. No one that I know of yet in Asia is up to 100% of capacity in group fitness classes.
So just to translate just a little bit, 1 meter equals a yard or 3 feet. So if you're talking 3 feet, 1 meter to 3 meters, you're talking the difference of like separating people from 3 feet distance to, about 10 feet. Which is a lot. You're absolutely right. How are you going to fit people in a fitness center like that? 10 feet.
It's very challenging. The other 2 points I would raise are masks. Most of the Asian countries, as a mandatory default, have to wear masks in public, irrespective of where you are, transport and restaurants. Masks are only allowed to be taken off indoors and places that are either a restaurant or bar where you're eating, and of course your own home. But if you're in an office with any more people than yourself, you're wearing a mask. What Asia has got, and to again its credit, is contact tracing. And so the governments across many countries here have mandated contact tracing apps and contact tracing entry systems. So in Singapore, for example, to get into a club, we have to go through a safe entry app that records all of our data in and out of that building. When we're in a group fitness class, you also have to trace every single person in and out of that group fitness class. In addition, Singapore also has another layer of reporting where we're allowed multiple groups of 5 to have a group fitness class inside one class. So a group of 5 on the left, a group of 5 on the right. Every single one of those groups of 5 also must be contact traceable by name and by details. This is the level of sophistication that clubs now have to endure in Asia. It's highly reportive, it's highly data sensitive, but it's highly effective at understanding where people are and where they are. So in addition to your hygiene and your safety management plans, yes, contact tracing is really key for us to try and understand how to maintain the order. The big challenge, of course, is for companies that have multi-country businesses, very similar to those in the States that have multi-state businesses. And I know Kristen can talk about this with multi-state businesses in Australia. We are having real challenges with different regulations and protocols and engagements and visibility on when they're going to reopen and plans for reclosure and plans for second waves. And so it's very difficult for big companies like Fitness First, True, Pure, Virgin Active, who are trying to negotiate across multiple different countries how they're going to put in plans standard operating procedures to open.
Yeah, we find that in the States as well. We've got multi-club owners that are interstitial, that are traveling between intrastatial and interstitial, so that, and it's within counties that are actually different in the States. You could be like literally half a mile away from somebody, couple blocks, 5 blocks away from somebody, and it's a different regulation. That's very difficult. What percentage have you seen when a facility does reopen? What percentage of activity have you seen regarding membership, maintenance, and freezing, and actually participating in activities? Because some people are maintaining their membership, but doing it virtually or feeling an emotional connection to the club that here I'm going to still pay my dues. What type of percentages have you seen, Ross?
Yeah, great question. It comes down to 2 variables. One is the strength initially of the community within the gym, and that will give them the confidence to return to the gym faster. And the second variable that we are seeing across Asia is consumer confidence related to how well the government within that country has been perceived to have successfully battled against the virus. So in some countries like India, for example, that haven't reopened yet, low consumer confidence and low member usage are expecting to come back. I'll take Hong Kong and Vietnam for 2 examples. Both countries initially dealt very well with the virus, and after 2 weeks of reopening, their member usage rates were actually on a par with pre-COVID rates. Wow. Although some of the group fitness was actually limited, they actually had large member increases. They had large use of personal training, coming back to what Jose has alluded to as well. But they also had people just generally wanting to use the gym as a whole. I know that some of the big operators as well in some other countries have now seen recovery rates, especially of personal training, and increases of personal training across the board. And so for us, we absolutely see that as a must for any gym going forward in the coming months, is to develop your personal training. Group fitness is still limited, and that's still going to be your Achilles heel. And sadly, if you are an independent or boutique operator who does a pay-as-you-go model with group fitness classes, I'm afraid there's going to be some pain for you to still endure.
And I think it's fascinating about the personal training, because that also translates to the United States. We got an interesting question, is what about outdoor fitness? Now in the States, we've done quite well with our outdoor fitness, especially in the Midwest or the northern areas of the country where it was typically cold for so long, and now people are outside, but it's not ultra hot like we would see in Florida or in the southern parts of the USA. So we get people adding turf outside in parking lot areas and working under tents. do you see that in Asia? And then I'm going to go hit on you, Kristen. I can't forget about you. Ross, do you see any outdoor training going on?
It's never been a real part of Asian culture to have, I would say, traditional fitness outside, with the exception of boot camps. I mean, we are in the major areas here limited sheerly by space and congestion of traffic. So it's very difficult to try and get consumers to, or should we say members, to successfully move to areas in a given city at a given time. The temperature here, of course, in Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore is often quite humid, etc. So I think the government had initially pictured this as part of the solution, if they will. They were toying with the idea of allowing gyms to have open spaces. The reality is, unless they're air conditioned in Asia, it's a very uncomfortable environment for most people to include themselves in. And so although there's a certain percentage of gym members, I think 10, 20 at the best.
Yeah, we definitely have to look at the cultural differences. Masks were much more well accepted by an Asian population if anyone's feeling ill. Very common, very well accepted in the community. It's very awkward and unusual in the US. Kristen, do you see in Australia the outdoor programming, the boot camps, and how is personal training being affected in your area of the world?
Yeah, I think if I could just rewind and just probably give a little bit of an overview of what's happened to Australia, it probably might provide a little bit more context. So much of what Ross has spoken to is very similar to what happened very early on with Australia. So largely, we did much the same as Asia. Watching what was happening with the rest of the world, Australia was quite quick in actually shutting down the borders to international travel. And in doing so, I think limited the spread of the virus. Now, the majority of the deaths associated with the virus in Australia were due to a cruise ship called the Ruby Princess. So what happened is that the virus was spread on the ship and then wasn't contained very well when it came into dock. And in other words, people were able to disseminate without being tested. And a lot of these people tested positive for the virus, which resulted in the communal spread throughout that. But once the borders were actually shut to travel, I think Australia managed it quite well in being able to contain any movement of people internationally and hence tap the spread. I mean, I think New Zealand was probably the gold standard in terms of doing what they did with Jacinda Ardern, very quickly putting into some very strict lockdown measures. And what that actually did is result in very few cases. I mean, obviously living on an island helps as well, being that you are isolated. And once you shut those borders, obviously you're not going to get that transmission. But I think what she did through incredible leadership was to really show everyone what is possible if you acted on these restrictions very quickly. And yes, they did go into quite strict lockdown very quickly, but I think ultimately prevented the spread and the damage that has been done. In Australia, in addition to that, what happened from the gym industry on the 23rd of March, we were basically given 12 hours notice to shut down all our businesses. We then entered a period of lockdown, which for us was about 15 weeks. So listening to what Jose has done as well, our business is a single site. We're a community-based facility. And what we actually did is we did embark on some digital options, but we didn't go fully digital. A lot of our members are a little bit older. So talking to the baby boomers, their reluctance to engage in technology, and also the fact that they were more interested in just maintaining that connection. So what we did is we were able to offer Les Mills on Demand as a digital offering for our members, which satisfied the ability, and they got that free for about 3 months, which was terrific. So they were able to access that and stay in touch. We had some of our own instructors and trainers deliver workshops and classes, so they had that familiarity, which we basically provided for free. One of the things that we did realize that very early on when we were listening to what our members wanted is that they didn't want digital. What they wanted was equipment. So I'm not sure what it's like for the rest of the world, but as soon as we went into lockdown, the market for home gym equipment just was out of control. So we found that a lot of our members wanted class bars to do classes and dumbbells and kettlebells and couldn't get them. So one of the innovations that we did is that we actually sold off all our old class bar equipment, all our old pump bars and steps, and we're able to buy new equipment, but our members were able to purchase that equipment so they could continue to do that at home. So a slightly different offering, but a clever way to kind of approach that. So it was a win-win for everybody. So fast forwarding a little bit, what we did during that time is that we also had, to your question, Sarah, we had restrictions on outdoor training. We have a little outdoor area attached to our facility here, but we weren't able to use that. It wasn't until the end, moving closer to when we reopened, that they did start to allow a maximum of 10 people in an outdoor area. And the other thing too, speaking a little bit to Ross's point, is that yes, Australia is a beautiful outdoor country, but we are now moving into our winter, so it is actually quite cold here compared to, it's not warm as well, so environmentally, but we're also capped at only having 9 people in an outdoor space with social distancing of 1.5 meters between everybody, and then obviously the same restrictions around disinfecting the equipment and making sure that everybody were abiding by those social restrictions. So we've since reopened. As I said, we reopened on the 1st of July. And what we've seen is a gradual return by some of our members to exercise. We are operating under very strict conditions here. In New South Wales, we have to submit what's called a COVID safe plan to the New South Wales government. Now, with that, what that does is detail in great detail a lot of initiatives around social distancing, signage, hygiene, risk management, and that is an actual document which we submit to the government to basically, and what I'm doing is that I'm using that to basically provide some peace of mind to our members that we are compliant with that, and we're doing everything that we can to actually protect and provide a safe environment to encourage our members to actually come back. And over the 15 weeks that we were closed, we worked basically every single day to make sure that we put a lot more signage in place. We have directional signage, we have cleanliness signage, we have social distancing signage. We're capped at a capacity of 20 people in a group exercise class, and that has to give them an area of 4 square meters to actually exercise in. We have the 1.5 meter social distancing rule. And like Ross said, we also, being a gym, obviously it's quite easy for us to provide that contact tracing should anything happen. Now, what's happened since we've opened in the last week, particularly in the area where I am, which is in southwest Sydney, is that we've had a second wave, which has come from a state of Victoria, which is south of where we're located in New South Wales. Now, as that's happened, that state has now gone into a compulsory 6-week lockdown. So gyms are closed in Victoria. We're still operating under restricted conditions here in New South Wales, and yet north of us in another state of Queensland, a sunny state, they're actually reopening their borders. But what's happened now is that there's also restrictions on interstate travel as well. So New South Wales is not allowing anyone from Victoria, and now Queensland is not even allowing some people from New South Wales. So we've still got the strict international restrictions on travel, but now even within Australia, as Ross said, the complexity is around operating businesses in different states, where in Victoria, if you're a Fitness First, you're actually closed all your clubs down there, but you can still operate in New South Wales, and yet in Queensland, you're operating a little more freely than what you are in New South Wales. So
what you're doing now, just again, I'm translating here, for 1.5 meters is about 6 feet, about 5-6 feet apart. And whenever you're estimating group fitness, when we do a Mania convention, we do one of our conventions, we always do 36 square feet per person, which is 6 feet by 6 feet, which is the typical way people measure gyms anyway. So that's kind of what you're restricted to. But it seems like this is very valuable information, Kristen, because you're going into your fall. We're at the other side of the world here, everyone. So they're going into their fall, they're coming out of their summer, and everything's going to get closed again. And I wonder, is the pandemic going to increase because more people are indoors? How does this affect your membership? And this will help us in America adjust, because we're just hoping everything. We were told it was going to be gone by Easter. Then we were told, everything will be open by July. And then we were told, and I'm looking here going, I canceled Florida Mania, I canceled California Mania, I've canceled Atlanta Mania. I hate to say, these people on this call right now, you guys, we're not holding Dallas. We're going to stream it. We'll still hold the event, but it's all going to be virtual. There's no way we can open these things up. So what's going to happen to us in the fall? And America, which I'm ashamed to say, we don't have contact apps. We can't trace who we saw. My yoga instructor texted me on Sunday saying her boyfriend, who we're all friends together, her boyfriend was exposed to COVID, and he's got all the symptoms, and she's got the symptoms. And so she went in to get tested on Sunday. So I've been isolating for a couple days. She got the results, it's negative. She's just got a cold. But it's like, we've got no contact apps. She's thoughtful and texts everybody, everyone in her class. So we were all outdoors, 6 feet apart. Nobody had contact. But this is scary. So anyway, Kristen, what are your recommendations for us regarding, now that things are getting cooler, how you're moving them indoors, and what precautions are you taking?
Yeah, so obviously, like you said, now it is getting into it is part of our winter here in Australia. So naturally, as part of that, you're going to get an increase in colds and flus. So some of those obviously are simply going to be colds and flus, and some of them may be, if people have been exposed, could be producing, COVID type symptoms. So I guess from our perspective, it's to be erring on the side of being conservative and cautious. What we've done at Aquafit here is that we are temperature checking all of our members as they arrive. We're temperature checking all of our staff as they arrive. So that, although doesn't necessarily, exclude anything in particular, but what it does is just give us a ready reckoner that somebody might be, obviously, even if they're getting a cold and flu, just knowing that they've got a temperature would be helping to exclude the spread of that from the gym anyway. So we are asking anyone when they enter the gym, we have a sign. So basically when they enter the gym, we're asking them to, in entering, comply with a whole list of things. And that is to say that they haven't been in contact with anyone or any of these hotspot areas. We're now having to ask new questions around that, but to also making sure that they haven't got any COVID-like symptoms, that they haven't got a temperature, that they haven't experienced recent coughs and symptoms in that area as well. So yes, there will be an increase in just the natural occurrence of colds and flus, but we have to try and do everything that we can. Now, obviously, having a slightly older population as well, we're mindful that not everyone will want to come back to the gym, because just in being out, it does present us a risk. So just being compassionately engaged with some of these members and understanding their perspective and respecting that they might not want to come back right now, and that's okay, but staying in touch with them and offering them, some solutions as well. But certainly contact tracing is invaluable at the moment, particularly with these recent outbreaks where we are. But now we're also having to double check secondary people to say, some of our staff have had their parents that have been at this particular venue that's had an outbreak. So it's trying to navigate the changes and the regulations in terms of actually mitigating that whole risk and trying to, bring a safe standard to Aquafit.
I think that that's great. And I think that I know that a lot of people that we've had on webinars that have written questions or asked questions about things, it's like, how do I start? You know what? You just start. So if you feel like I didn't act quickly enough, I didn't get on a digital platform quickly enough, I didn't start personal training quickly enough, my gym hasn't been taking temperatures or hasn't been asking the 5 questions that the CDC, the Center for Disease Control in the USA recommends, you guys, we can start doing that now. And I know we have different regulations in one state to another state, or from one country to another country. But if we start operating on a little bit more conservative platform with the distancing and the mask, wearing the masks and acting more conservatively, hopefully we can get this under control. Jose, what's going on in Portugal regarding the masks and then exercising? We've had a bit of a debate in the USA that you got to be able to take your mask off, but you should wear a face shield so that the teacher doesn't spit on people. Do they travel in common areas with the mask and then take it off when they do begin the exercise programs? Or has there been a limiting of the type of programs that people can engage in, like yoga versus HIIT training?
Well, first of all, the security measures at this moment are you have a temperature measure when you enter the club. You have to clean your feet, and you have to sanitize your hands. You have to wear a mask except when you work out. The physical distancing is 3 meters apart. We
3
have
meters, that's everybody, that's 9 feet.
9 feet.
And that's according to, sorry about this, according to the American College of Sports Medicine, they are recommending that we do 40 square feet per person, which is that basically about a 6.5 feet by 6.5 feet, or 60 square feet a person, which is almost 8 feet by 8 feet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So what we had to do, because when we closed, we started to move our layout because we knew we are going to get some physical distancing. So we started moving our layout. We tried to take off some equipments, but we have 37 clubs. It's almost impossible to do that. So we decreased our maximum capacity. We have 20% maximum capacity right now. So group fitness, we have to put on the floor the distancing between members, and people are really doing this well. Members are, we were scared at the beginning because, 20% of our members were fitness addicts. They were waiting at the door so we can open and get in the club. They are new guys, millennials. They say the virus is not for them, and they got in the club. So we had to advise them that if they couldn't comply with the rules, they had to leave. So at the beginning we had some trouble. Now everyone is doing well. They wear the mask. They take off the mask. All the equipment is clean. As a lot of everyone is doing a lot of things about cleaning. You have limited space for personal training, limited space for every activity. But I have to say that our main concern is our staff. Because the member goes there, works out. We limited the workout time to 60 minutes because at the beginning we had small capacity, and if people work out more than 60 minutes, we have problems with maximum capacity. Our problem right now is staff, because they are exposed 8 hours a day to members getting in. So that's our main focus: getting them sanitized, wearing masks, doing sanitizing procedures. That's my main concern. Obviously, we don't want any member to get this, but my main concern is our instructors and our front office staff. But I have to say that we have some data that we can probably we can help guys that are closed. Only 35%, 40% of our members came back after the closure. We have 20% freezes, 20% cancellations.
And so you had about 30 to 40% come back, 20% freezes, 20% cancellations. And I've heard this from different people, but if there's individuals on these calls that, you guys, we got to plan our budgets and we got to last through December 31st here. Okay, because hopefully they'll find a vaccine.
Well, one of the things that you must prepare right now, and we did prepare for this, is that I have all the guys that are still active, but they are freezed because they are afraid. You know, let's divide by a group of members. The guys that don't care, and then the other guys. Why do other guys don't want to come to the club? First of all, afraid of COVID, obviously, but there are other reasons for people to stay at home. They are in layoff or out of jobs, so people are saying, "I'm not coming right now because I was fired. I don't have money." The seasonal effect, because in Portugal it's Northern Hemisphere, now it's summer. So July and August, like the US, are the worst months of the year for the fitness business. So people said, okay, July and August I don't come anyway, so let's talk in September. And then the limitations. Some people don't want to come to the club with limitations, period. I don't want to go to a group fitness class and have 5 people there. So we don't want to expose to the limitations. And we need to prepare, because we know this kind of people. We called everyone. We have 100,000 members. We called everyone because you have obviously huge teams. And they are talking with members and asking, when are you coming back? So if they say July, I will call them back in July. If they say August, I will call them back August. If they say September, and 80% of the members say, we'll talk in September, we have a huge call block. Instructors, front office staff, managers, everyone that has, I'm doing contacts. So,
and this is great to know. It's great to be very aware of the different cultural protocols. Like, it's very common in Europe and Asia to use the hand sanitizers. We're only just getting used to that in America, but that's going to be a permanent fixture, guys. It's a permanent change in our society. The other thing that I want to emphasize with Jose, because we're getting close to running down on time, is I've heard this from several people of the telemarketing, of calling your members and physically speaking to them on the phone. We used to do this many years ago, and then we stopped because the world was telemarketing. But the personal contact now has a real impact. SCW was using telemarketing to connect with our previous Mania attendees, and we have longer conversations with them than we've ever had. So think about implementing that in your gym. Kristen, you're nodding. Is this something that your facility is also engaged in?
Yeah, and during the shutdown, we had limited access to some stuff, particularly towards the end when we were gearing up for reopening. And throughout that whole 15 weeks, what we were doing was calling our members. So we were staying in touch with them and just checking in with them. The other thing that we did in terms of staying in touch with the members is that we did a survey of the members that basically attended the gym in the last month before we shut down. So we surveyed them to find out their level of confidence in returning to the gym. We also asked them what they felt of the sanitation and hygiene measures before, their confidence in exercising at home, and their confidence in actually returning once we reopened. And we had about 1,000 members respond to that survey, and we scored very high. We scored a 9.5 in the level of confidence of members wanting to return when we reopened, which was terrific. We also scored like high 9s in saying that because we've just prior to we were shutting down, we'd had already amped up a lot of the measures around extra sanitizing, wipes for the equipment. And a lot of what we were doing was also educating the members. And I think that's really important as a strategy for when you reopen, because members have to relearn a whole new way of coming to the gym. Our members had to learn to book online because we never used to book online for classes. So now we have members booking for using the pool, booking to come in for classes. And some of these are older generations which have to adapt to new technology.
And it's a very simple way to train them by
Yes.
asking them through either a survey that's in written form, and then maybe you call them later, or even just calling them and asking them the questions. The real emphasis here is educating them to get them back, which is, Kristen, that's great. I'm gonna, Ross, we're almost up for time, so I apologize. I wish I had another hour and a half. What are you seeing with the telemarketing, connecting with members that you've experienced in Asia?
Yeah, the gyms have been good at keeping in close connection with their members. I mean, coming back to what Jose has alluded to earlier, I think most of the gyms in Asia have experienced between a 10 and 20% drop in membership. There has been a freeze of between 20 and 30% of memberships as well, and the hardcore will always come back fast and will always come back the hardest. What we are seeing as well is gyms are now focusing on that 20 to 30%, which again is the real unknown at this moment in time. Are they going to come back? How are they getting comfortable? How are you educating them? You know, customer acquisition at this point in time is pointless, you know, as is marketing for customer acquisition. People really have to get into that 20 to 30% of their member base and get them to come back quickly. But we've also realized a couple of small points, you know, the class aggregator systems, so the Gym Pass, the Class Pass, which have been heavily relied upon in the future, are really struggling at the moment with inventory and with their own freezes. And so gyms cannot expect to get any fill-in from the likes of the class aggregators, not like they were before. What we're also appreciating is virtual is falling off a cliff. Don't rely on virtual for any type of revenue stream. Coming back to what Jose has said, it's not a long-term sustainable revenue plan for your business. It's a complementary measure that we are seeing as a value add for premium products. And if you can do that, you're absolutely fine. The last point, honestly, just be prepared to be damn unlucky. Some people are going to be really unlucky and they're going to get outbreaks, or they're going to get shut down again, and you have to be prepared for that.
And you look at the world, and I know dry cleaning is never going to come back to where it was. But I do firmly believe that health and wellness, and if we focus on fitness as building our immunities, it will come back. You can't just stare into a mirror or onto a computer screen and feel the same workout. And with that, thank you, the three of you. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to show you guys a short video about our digital programming that, of course, is not my favorite, because I would really love to see people face to face at one of our conferences. But we have a great virtual convention coming up, which at least the best part of this is you get to see people exercise, your trainers, your stars, exercising in their kitchens, in their basement. Somebody did it from their back porch. So it's really fun to see where these people live. So here we go. I'm going to show you guys our video for Live Stream Mania, which is coming up in 10 days.
Built on the massive success of the first ever Live Stream Mania, the SCW Stream team is back with a brand new fitness convention experience powered by Zoom. Introducing Live Stream Mania. With over 70 presenters and all new sessions as they are streamed live from our presenters' homes and studios directly to yours, all for an incredibly low price. Earn your CECs and join us for an action-packed, interactive weekend of knowledge and inspiration. Live Stream Mania. The stream is on.
And on that note, I thank you all for joining us this evening or this late afternoon if you're in the Pacific time zone. And again, thank you, Ross. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Kristen. I sincerely appreciate you joining us. Thank you all in the webinar for joining us this evening. Thank you, Adam, for running it, and Sean Carlson for helping out. Okay, thank you, guys.
Bye.